look at what's coming after you. Hey, hey. No, don't say nothing. Or bon voyage to rendezvous. Trade fights for better views. We both need something new. Maybe we should just tell them.
Hello, high-minded readers, and welcome to the Books and the Bees podcast. Just like bees play a crucial role in pollinating flowers and sustaining life, books pollinate minds and nurture the soul. We see the connection between the two, the delicate dance of ideas and stories that enrich our lives.
I'm Cody.
I'm Hailey.
Welcome to our podcast.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Episode 31.
Yeah. Wow.
31.
We're out here.
Yeah. We're out here every week. Just the number increases by one every week, and it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. It really does.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so crazy to think about, because so much has happened in the last few months that we've been recording. So many things.
This has been as much as I love doing the podcast and we both love doing it, this is the worst year that we could have chosen to do a podcast from the ground. At the end of this, we'll have 2 moves, 2 job changes, just so much happening in our lives. It's crazy.
Yeah.
What we're doing.
Yeah.
But I feel like once you're in the 30s, it seems like it's an official podcast. We're not just fucking around, we're actually committing to it. And yeah. So we're officially in the 30s. The podcast I'm going to be 31 in 3 weeks. So
wow.
It's the podcast is older than me now.
Yeah. Yeah. The podcast has been older than me, but not by much. Not by much. And speaking of which, tomorrow is your birthday. Happy birthday, Hailey. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I'll cut this out if you don't want it.
No, that's fine. You can keep it in.
Good.
It's fine. People can know that my birthday's tomorrow, which when you're listening to this, listeners, it'll already have been passed. So, yeah. Turning 29.
29.
29? If you get the reference, you get the reference.
Yeah.
If you don't, sorry.
Yeah, I think you explained it to me. That's why I get it
now. For those who don't know, it's from, oh my gosh, the New Girl with, what is her name?
Oh, yeah.
That beautiful sunflower of a person.
Zooey Deschanel.
Yes, Zooey Deschanel.
Yeah,
Love
she's really
her.
good.
Love her.
I do too. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Super great. I don't want to drift away from that yet, but yeah, happy birthday. Congratulations on making it 29.
Thank
Super cool.
Yeah.
What I was going to say was that I was just back from a trip and I was watching Schitt's Creek again. And I always think of Schitt's Creek and New Girl together because we kind of watched them at the same time. And that show is just so freaking good. I love that show so much. It's been a while since I've seen it, but super good. Super good show.
I've heard nothing but good things about it. I think my husband watched it a while back. I mean, I feel like it's been a few years. And he kept telling me, you need to watch it. And I was like, no. And I just still haven't gotten into it. But maybe I'll take it for a spin.
I think you're going to love it.
Yeah.
I think you're going to love it. Yeah. The characters are so fun and just oddball. The first episode sucks you in really well. It's such a good show. And if you New Girl's really good too. So if you like New Girl, you're definitely going to like Schitt's Creek.
Yes. I think I need to go back and watch the rest of New Girl. But it's canceled now or done, supposedly?
Yeah.
I think?
Yeah, it's done. So, I think they did 6 seasons.
So maybe I'll have to rewatch that.
Yeah.
Because, it's been a while. So
I don't like necessarily how it ended, but it was a good last season. I think it's hard to capture. The first season of that show was just really good, and it's hard to capture that and keep it.
Yeah.
But season. I thought they were all good seasons. My wife really, really likes it too. So.
Yeah, it was definitely one of my comfort shows for a while.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Such a good show.
Such a good show. I just love shows like that. And I was thinking too, Schitt's Creek is very similar to a lot of books I like to read, the cozy books. I feel like New Girl's kind of like that too. Kind of that cozy vibe. It's got a little bit of stuff happening, but it's not really like crazy suspenseful,
Mm-hmm.
which is really nice, especially like in the times that we're living in right now.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know why, but it makes me feel like I'm more so watching like a 90s sitcom than like,
Oh, yes. Yep.
than like a new age sitcom or like new age TV show. New age TV shows just don't do it for me. I don't know what it is, but
I'm with you on that. Yeah. I miss like the old school 90s sitcom style of show, like episodic and like 20 episodes a season. And I kind of, it's weird, but I do kind of miss the not streaming aspect of TV.
Yeah.
Like, it was a lot more special to catch a show or an episode of a show that you really liked, where now you can literally watch every single episode at the drop of a hat. Kind of like songs. Like, remember when we had to like record songs for our ringtones, like by just holding your phone up to the stereo when the song came on? I kind of miss that aspect of music and TV, but here we are.
I agree. I miss, you know what I miss? I miss those they're little mini boom boxes, and they had like the little inserts for your like clips. I think they were called clips. I don't know. I could be wrong. Of like the songs, and then you'd like put them in the little stereo, and then it'd like play that little song. Oh, those things are so cool. I miss those, but yeah, and I miss like having like building a playlist off because like now, I mean, yeah, you can build a playlist, but it's not as like special because you don't have like a very limited amount of songs or like a limited amount of space. So yeah, and
you can pick literally any song in the world, where like you were pretty limited before. Yeah, it's very true. And like the tapes, the CDs that were super special, and you would share them with people that you were really good friends with, or wanted to woo or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely different.
And nothing hits better than like drawing on a CD, because that's fun. I hope that our listeners, if you're not old enough, like, it was a thing, but if you are old enough,
Yeah. I wonder if you could buy like empty CDs to burn still. Probably, I'm sure, on Amazon.
I would imagine. I still have like stacks of like, the cases where they just come in like a ridiculous amount.
Yep.
The amount of fun. I don't know actually if that's allowed anymore, or if was ever allowed, but we did it.
Yeah, we did it. There was no way to stop us. It didn't matter.
Listen, I paid for those original song CDs with my own damn money, and
That's true.
put them on CDs for my friends.
That's true. Yeah, so I will admit this, but please don't arrest me, music industry.
Yeah.
I used to go to the library, and I would check out the CDs, and then burn them on the computer, and then return the CDs.
Oh, that's naughty.
Sorry.
Yeah, whoops.
People. But I really didn't do it that often, so I don't feel super bad about it. And then everybody pirated music with like LimeWire and shit. So
literally
like,
everyone.
The CDs were not the big problem by the time that we were. Yeah,
by a long shot. Yeah. Listen. I was not allowed to have LimeWire on our computer because my parents knew what it was, and so we weren't allowed to do that. But I would get gift cards every like birthday, Christmas, whatever, for a little record store in our town that had like just so many like different genres CDs, and you would go in and I would go in and buy CDs, and then like, or I'd wait until they'd be releasing, and then I'd go and buy them with my little gift cards, and then buy the CDs and then burn them.
Hell yeah.
That was fun.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, it was great.
Gotta love it.
For sure.
Yeah. Good times. Yeah. Well, you know what else is good times?
What else?
The books we're reading right now.
Hell yeah.
Should we jump into what we're reading?
Yes, let's.
Okay. All right, Hailey, what are you reading?
So I'm kind of back on my reading game, I think. I am reading a physical book called The Au Paire Affair by Tessa Bailey. I don't know if we've touched base since. Well, yeah, I know I messaged you about them, but when I went and bought my copy of the book that we're reading, the Education in Malice, I, did what I do best, and I picked up a couple more books. But I picked up The Au Pair Affair by Tessa Bailey, which is the second book after Fangirl Down. And I'm not very far into it, but it's fairly good so far. It's definitely a thicker book. I don't have it with me on hand currently. I think it's in my my bag that I bring to work. But I have that going for me. And then I have, so I don't remember which episode I mentioned this one in, but I'm pretty sure I mentioned it in one of the Pride Month episodes. I'm not entirely sure. But it's called How to Bite Your Neighbor and Win a Wager by D.N. Bryn. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it's definitely, as probably the title you could figure out, but it's about vampires, and it's a cute little romance love story, and I think I'm like 31% on it, the way through it.
Oh, hell yeah.
On my Kindle. So yeah, and it's on Kindle Unlimited, so if you want to read it, it's on there.
It sounds fun.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, it sounds like good reads. I mean, I know we both like Tessa Bailey, so it makes sense that the Au Pair Affair is really good. But yeah, How to Bite Your Neighbor and Win a Wager sounds like really good, and it kind of rhymes. I just realized as I was saying it, it like rhymes. Very nice to say the title.
It is, yes, and it's like one of the it feels like one of those quick reads where like you just kind of like shoot through it, I've had to like pace myself quite a bit because I read it on my breaks during work, but
hell yeah, we love that.
Yeah,
love a good break book.
Hell yeah. But yeah, what books are you getting into?
Man, well, so I know the last time we recorded, which we actually took a week off because I had a little bit of vacation with my wife. We went up to New York, and then we ended up in Providence and Boston. And so I visited a crap ton of bookstores over in that area. And so I came home with a lot. So I'm kind of like buried in books at the moment. But I did start before we really took off from New York. A book that I think I mentioned when I got it was Indian Burial Ground by Nick Medina. And this is a book that I got, I actually won like some sort of raffle with a book subscription box. And this is one of the books that came with it. It's a horror book. It's in the indigenous persons space. It's basically wrapped around two main characters. It's a kind of a back and forth narration, and it's also back and forth in time. So it's an uncle and a niece. And the book starts with the niece. Her boyfriend dies tragically in a really bad car accident. He gets hit by a car. And some people think it's suicide, but she doesn't. And her uncle happens to come into town right at the same time that this happened. And he had a really interesting experience when he was at the town when he was a kid. And so the story kind of goes back and forth between their narrations and their time frames. But it's really good. I'm not really sure what's happening in the story. Nick Medina is doing a really good job of not revealing his hand. Like, I don't really know where the story's going to go, but there is a lot of indigenous population mythology wrapped up in the story. And the cover of it's really pretty. It's a very like kind of orange red cover with it's an alligator with kind of a native drawings along it. It's very, very pretty. And I really enjoyed it. I think I'm about 60% through. I'm reading it physically, so I forget how to gauge physical books because I'm so used to e-readers, but I'm definitely over halfway based on where the bookmark is, but it's really good. And I'm also currently reading a book that I picked up in Boston, which is called Bunker Hill, A City, a Siege, a Revolution by Nathaniel Philbrick. I think is how you say his name. And this is basically about Boston in the Revolutionary time. It starts at the Boston Tea Party and kind of goes through to the situation of Bunker Hill. And I picked it up because I really don't know that much about this period of time in America outside of the, like, I don't know, 2 weeks you talk about it in high school maybe. Like, it's really not something that I remember talking in a lot of detail. And so I'm learning a lot about founding fathers that I honestly didn't know who they were before. And it was really cool because when I was in Boston reading it, we were going to the places that they were talking about. Like we saw the site of the Boston Massacre. We saw the location where the Boston Tea Party was. And so it was really cool to kind of be reading about it while you're actually in the space. But it is a very dense nonfiction book. And so I read the first maybe 5 chapters, and now I'm taking a little hiatus from it to like not be buried in history, because it's not really my, forte by any means. But it is good. I've enjoyed it so far. He's a pretty good writer, and I've really enjoyed it. And then the third book that I finished on our trip is called The Sluts by Dennis Cooper.
I love that.
I couldn't help but pick up this book. In fact, let me show you the cover, Hailey.
Yes, show it.
This is what the cover looks like.
Oh my god, I love that.
It's just super like an OG blurry, I don't know, like online picture of a dude who seems like he's naked. And the perspective of it is told from old school, like mid 2000s escort chat rooms. So like you're basically being told the story through reviewers, and it starts with the first reviewer who had sex with a male escort. It's all, gay men. This is all the gay men space. And starts with a review about this one escort who was given a very, very good review, talked up super well. And then more people comment on it, and it kind of spirals into like, is this really happening? Are people like inflaming everything that's going on? And then it turns really, really weird really, really quickly, and a lot of stuff goes down, and you really don't know if what you're reading is true or not. But it's a super crazy book, and it's not really big. I think it's like 250 pages.
Wow.
And it was just a crazy ride. I think I read it in like 2 days because it's just all over the place, but it's really fun. There is a lot of content, graphic content. I'm not going to put it on the honey scale because it's the kind of content that I don't really want to like metric that way, but definitely explicit content. So be prepared for that. But it is a pretty crazy story, so I would recommend it. And I couldn't help but pick it up when I was at the bookstore and saw it. So
wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like I might put that on my TBR, because that sounds like a really good book. And I'm all like, I don't know, like the sex work industry is such a intriguing topic for me, for lack of a better term. I feel like there's so much that like is untold, and so much about it that like people don't get to see, and like what an interesting take for a book. That's cool. Yeah,
and like it definitely covers like abuse for sex workers, and it gets into that. So yeah, it is just a wild ride. And I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was a little weird reading it on the plane, but you know what? I just let it happen.
Yeah, if people listen, if you're on a plane and you're looking at what someone else is reading next to you, read at your own risk.
That's so true. That's so true. But can I say, now, as I've mentioned that hopefully no one noticed what I was reading, I do like to look at what books people are reading on planes and, when I'm traveling. And it's almost overwhelmingly Sarah J. Maas. I see so often. ACOTAR, Throne of Glass. I think if I had counted, I probably would have seen 10 different people reading one of those 2 series, which is crazy because they're just, super popular.
Wow. That's interesting. The last plane trip that I took was to Vegas, and I was in the middle seat, unfortunately.
Ugh.
Yeah, and my husband was like a row or 2 up from me, and in the middle seat, so I was reading my like very heavy romance, like not safe for work type book. The elderly lady next to me was reading a book about religion and God and that sort of thing, and the guy next to me was reading some sort of like news magazine something, and I was like, wow, what a scale of variety.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's true. Yeah, and I do admit I did every once in a while glance over at the gal next to me to see what like, her book was about. And that's the only reason why I know, because I was like
Yeah.
peering
Yeah.
over. But yeah.
I don't know what trip it was, but there was one gal. She was reading a book that was like a Buddha. I don't know if Muslim is the right term, so forgive me, but I think it was like a Buddha related book and like the religion associated with that. So that was kind of interesting. I'd never seen, and it was something she was reading on her tablet, so it was kind of easy to see what she was reading. But yeah,
Interesting.
kind of cool.
That's really cool. I think it's Buddhism. That has to do.
Duh, yeah, of course.
That's so funny. I'm pretty sure.
I'm tired. Forgive me.
It's fine. There's a lot of religions out there, and
there's a lot of religions out there, and you know what? We're not here to judge any of them, but yeah, she was definitely into like learning how to become a Buddhist, which is interesting because I don't see that very often, so it's nice to see that.
Yeah, you really don't. And yeah, the only reason why I even know anything about religion is because of my world religions class that I had to take in college. So it was forced upon me.
Well, it's clear I don't know much because I thought Buddha was Muslim. So
nope. I think. Well, I'm not even gonna say what I think Muslim is because I don't want to be wrong.
Yeah, we're not experts on religion here.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah, well, it sounds like we're reading good books.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're getting out of your book slump.
Yeah, me too. I think it's because I was very excited. Oh, and I also got, that reminds me. So I was reading the first book, Pestilence, in the Four Horsemen series.
Oh, yeah.
And I picked up the next book, which I believe is...
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Just like the first one. Very pretty.
Yeah, really, really pretty. Again, and the author is Laura Thalassa. My apologies if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly.
Yeah. Well, and I did want to mention to you, I haven't started it yet, but as soon as I finish Indian Burial Ground, I'm going to start Done and Dusted.
Yes!
Came in.
Yay!
Yeah. So I think probably Friday is when I'll start it.
Hell yeah. Oh, I'm so excited. You'll have
so I'll definitely talk about it next week.
Yes. I can't wait to hear about it because it's so good.
It's going to be good. Yeah, I'm excited for it. Yay.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, should we jump into the beekeeping?
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. Well, we actually have a decent amount of beekeeping this week because a lot of stuff dropped that some stuff dropped earlier in the month that we didn't really catch, partially because of our kind of scheduling issues where we had to record a couple episodes. But there is a TikTok Book Awards that has been happening for the last 2 years. I think this is the second year that it's happened. And they do a lot of different categories. They do a UK category. They do international categories. And so there's a lot of different books to choose from. And I think if you're a TikTok content creator, you get to vote, which is really cool. So actually, I think if you just have a TikTok account, you might be able to vote. So that's really awesome because it's not very often that you get to vote for book awards. So a lot of great books. They have a book of the year for the UK and Ireland version, which none of these I'm familiar with. I'm just kind of looking through. There's quite a bit, so I won't read all of them, but I don't recognize any of these. And then the international book of the year, one of them is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, which I read was really good. Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros was very good. Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. I haven't read it, but I've heard good things.
Yeah.
And then Chain Gang All-Stars by Nana Kwame J. Brenya is one that I read that I really, really liked. So definitely some great authors on here, which is good. So I love that TikTok is just kind of leaning into their book talk space because I really do think it's a really cool place to be. So I love it. And the winners were announced last week as we're recording. And so the book of the year was None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. The book of the year international was Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. The breakthrough author is Talia Hibbert, who is a romance author. So we should maybe look at one of her books for maybe a co-read or something in the future. That'd be good. There's quite a few other categories. I won't read them all just for sake of time, but go check it out, and we'll post the link to it in the show notes. But I just love it. I love these kind of community awards. I think they're really fun, and it's cool that TikTok's doing this, and I wish I had voted because I didn't know about it.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I feel like the books that I see on TikTok aren't always the books that are in like the big lists, you know? So
Right. That's true.
that's really cool that they did that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. It's definitely a little bit more eclectic, I guess is the term to use. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think they have more indie type authors that get, you know, because they're small authors that maybe they have a TikTok account and then they just promote their book that way, which is also really cool. And I follow quite a bit of authors that way.
Yeah.
Because I'll see like a promotion for their book that they, you know, did, and then I'll see that they're an indie author. So yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know if we've talked about it before, but there is a gentleman whose name I don't remember. He's, you know, probably in his 70s, and he wrote like a trilogy maybe. And his daughter posted on TikTok about his book, trying to hype it up, and it ended up becoming super viral, and he sold a crap ton of copies of his book. And I love that kind of story. I think that's really cool. So yeah, TikTok's doing great stuff. Well, okay, it's doing good stuff in the book community. I don't know about the rest of the stuff, but it's trying. It's trying.
Yeah, that's really cool, and I love that.
Yeah, I'll have to maybe I'll pull it up for next week. I think the book is called Iron Maidens or something. But yeah, he's a really sweet guy. He seems really nice. So I'm glad that he's selling his book, because it's hard to write a book, that's for sure.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. We also had another awards come up, which is in the sci-fi space, and this is a very big award ceremony that happens every year. It's the Hugo Awards, and there are a lot of different categories for this as well. But the best novel for this year was Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tesh, which I'm pretty sure I talked about on the podcast. I really, really liked it. I try to read all of the books that are nominated for the Hugo, and I made it through almost all. I think I'm missing 2 total. I read Translation State by Anne Leckie, Starter Villain by John Scalzi, which has the cat on the cover in like the tuxedo, which is a great book.
I still
funny book.
Still need to read that. It's literally downloaded on my phone, and I need to read it.
Oh, it's such a good book. I loved that book. Yeah, it's really good. And I think I read that before the podcast started. So yeah, that's kind of an OG book there. And then best novella was Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher, which I haven't read, but T. Kingfisher is a pretty prolific author, and she has a lot of books that come out, so I'm not too surprised. And then the best novelette was called The Year of Without Sunshine by Naomi Kritzer, and I actually am listening to it currently, and it's really, really good so far. It's kind of like dealing with social media connection after a apocalypse occurs, and so someone, after the internet shuts down, like because technology gets shut off from something, they start this like booth, kind of like a kissing booth from back in the day. I'm kind of thinking of like that SpongeBob episode where they set up a booth to like sell the Krabby Patties. Do you know what I'm talking about? But instead it's like a connections where you like leave notes for people and then they like share them as they come through.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a cute story. I'm enjoying it so far. Yeah. But there's a lot of other categories, so go check out the Hugos. They're very, very popular, and I always find great books and short stories and novels, novellas to read from this. So check it out if you're a big sci-fi fan like me.
Yeah.
And then we have another piece of news this week that is depressing and frustrating. And it's another book ban by Utah, which we shouldn't be surprised. Basically, they did a statewide school ban of the Sarah J. Maas books. And actually, it's not just her books. It's 7 authors, 13 books total.
Wow.
That are banned from every public school classroom and library. I think that's school library, not public library.
Oh, okay.
In Utah. So Margaret Atwood, who wrote Handmaid's Tale, Judy Blume, Rupi Kaur, who I don't know, and Sarah J. Maas are just a few of the authors that were banned with this statewide ban.
Wow. Okay, to some degree I can understand maybe Sarah J. Maas, because like some of the content, I think, at least in ACOTAR, I feel like less so Throne of Glass, but like in Akatar and probably even Crescent City, I can understand, like, to a certain degree, it's a little bit more like mature content, which, okay, yeah, don't put those in school libraries, maybe, I don't know. But like in the same vein, I was reading Twilight in my school library, so
Oh yeah, I mean, I read Stephen King in mine, so like, come on.
And then like but Judy Blume, come on.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
That's like the pillar of my childhood. Judy Blume books.
Judy Blume carried us.
Were so good, and they like talked about so many like things that you go through as a like moments as a kid that like are explained in a very like digestible way for children or for like younger people. That I feel like it's one of those like books that I don't know, like it's like, to me it's like my like Boxcar Children, Magic Tree House,
100%,
like, you know, like the staples of your like childhood book library, which sucks that they banned that. And I would love to know the like reasonings behind the ban for specifically for Judy Blume. The reason why I'm so stuck on this Judy Blume one is because it's like an age appropriate one. I can understand maybe Sarah J. Maas being like, you know, not appropriate age wise, but yeah, Judy Blume is like for kids. So what's the problem?
I really don't understand it. I mean, we've talked about book bans before, and I don't believe in any book ban. Right. I think it should be up to the librarians and the teachers. Like, is Akatar probably should it be in a middle school?
No.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think so. High school?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's fair. So I think it should be the decision of the librarian, definitely not the people who are not in there teaching students. Like Judy Blume is ridiculous. Margaret Atwood, I actually read The Handmaid's Tale in high school for a paper. And I don't think that one was specifically banned in this, but you know, like, those are really good books. They're very important. They teach a really good lesson. So, you know.
Yeah, and also
there's
like,
just no reason to do this.
Yeah, and like I think ultimately it needs to be at the discretion of the parent. And like, hey parents, if you're looking at what your child is reading, which you should be, same thing with like the internet, right? Like,
oh god,
like maybe be like, hey, what book is that, and go research it for yourself, and then make the decision for your child, not other people's. Okay. Yeah, that's true. It's absolutely true. And you know, when I was a kid, my mom, this is really more in like elementary school, middle school, but she never told me I couldn't read a book. Never, I don't think. But she would read the books with me, and if it was like, you know, maybe a little bit above what I probably should have been reading at the time, we'd talk about it. And like, I thought that was really great because never once was I told not to read a book. I started reading Stephen King when I was 14, which is probably a little young. Looking back on it, Harry Potter was kind of dark there at the end, and I think I was old enough as they were coming out to be okay, but I don't think I would let a 10-year-old read the last Harry Potter book. Like, you know, make that decision for your family and don't do it for other people. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel the same way, because like my parents definitely, well, my mom specifically, because my dad didn't. I don't think he was like, books, cool. But like, you know, there was this book series called The Click, and it was like an even better Mean Girls. I fucking loved those books.
Those books were super popular.
So good. I wanted to be one of those girls in the books so bad. I even side note, this is totally tangent-y, but I even painted my room Tiffany blue because one of the main characters was obsessed with like Tiffany's and Tiffany blue things. Anyways, and but like, I think about those books as like an adult now, and I'm like, yeah, those were like age appropriate ones where they weren't like doing anything too crazy that, you know. But like, I think about, you know, things like maybe like The Uglies or like the Twilight. I mean, there's some like heavy, especially in like the last book or second to last. I can't remember which book has the scene in it for Twilight, but like, you know, I can understand like being a parent being like, oh well, okay, like, you know, maybe let's talk about it. But again, like we've said, it should be at the discretion of the parent. Like if that's what you want your kids reading, whatever, that's your prerogative. But
yeah,
shouldn't be banning
totally
it for everyone. That's ridiculous. And I
totally
feel like it just sets precedence for more book bans, which is not cool.
It does, yeah. And this is the first ever statewide ban, so
yeah.
This is unique and not a good precedent. We should be doing what Illinois did, which is ban book bannings. I think that's like the best solution.
I agree.
This is not good, but I will say I was in Utah over the weekend, and I went to one bookstore. I didn't have time to go to very many, but I went to one, and there is a huge fight to try to fight just book bans in general, but especially this one. The program that I learned about and is in this link to this article that we'll put in the show notes is called Let Utah Read, which is a coalition of organizations, librarians, teachers, and parents, among others, that have tried to petition to fix the sensitive materials law. So I hope that they can continue the momentum and push things forward, because it's not good. Yeah, it's not a good solution, I don't think.
Yeah.
So you suck, Utah.
Yeah.
Do better.
What the heck?
Yeah. If any listeners in Utah, we love you specifically, but
yes,
we don't like the state.
Yeah. Go tell your government Congress people to go give them an earful. Call them.
Yeah.
You can do that.
And, you know, that's so true. And we're not a political podcast, but this is a good election year. So feel free to go vote for the people that you want in office. Yes. And if you don't want book bans, that's the best way to keep them from coming, is to vote for the right people. So
absolutely,
go vote.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. I think that's all we have for beekeeping. Do you have anything, Hailey?
Oh gosh, no. I've been in.
We did a lot. That's a lot of beekeeping.
Yeah, and I've been in like La La Land lately, so I'm like barely staying awake most nights to like.
Yeah.
It's been a.
We're both feeling it.
Yeah, we're running on fumes out here, so.
Yeah, that's so true. So true. Well, we should jump into our topic for today, which is the first half of our co-read for August.
Yes.
And that book is An Education in Malice by S.T. Gibson. We're going to be spoilery. Do you want to do like a quick non-spoilery version before we jump into the first half?
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be spoilery. We'll do a little bit of non-spoiler here, and then we'll jump into the spoilers. And this is up to chapter 15, so through chapter 15. So if you haven't read it, be mindful of that. It's a phenomenal book. I love it.
Yes,
it's so good.
I was not expecting to get into it so much as I did, but oh my gosh, I love it. And I love, because I got the physical copy, and I really do love the old school feel of the book. But yeah, I honestly, I was not super into it within the first couple chapters, but once I got past those first few chapters, I could not put it down. I literally closed the book and was like, you cannot read anymore. Or you're gonna forget half the crap that happened, or you're gonna spoil it for, so I was like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah. Hailey has much better restraint than I do. I finished the book. I also had a library hold, so I kind of was forced to, but I ended up reading it in maybe the span of 4-ish days.
Wow.
And it just I think the first 2 chapters were pretty slow too, but it really just grabbed me, and I was very much into the book. The vibe of this book is just dark academia at its finest. It is very it feels like a very high culture book, and I just really, really liked it. The characters are super interesting. I feel like they jump out of the page. Great. It's just super, super good book.
Yeah. I feel like when I was reading it, I felt like I was on some East Coast uppity Ivy League college campus, just sitting on one of their lawns. Not that I've ever been to an Ivy League college campus on the East Coast at all, but I just sitting there under a tree, maybe reading my book. That's so like dark and sinister and
Very much, yeah. Like, oh, I'm reading this book.
yeah.
and, yeah, I have my tea. That's
Yeah,
very
exactly.
special.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's our kind of non-spoiler vision of the book. I highly recommend checking it out. And yeah, the physical copy is beautiful. I did an ebook, but the physical copy is absolutely gorgeous. The cover is just amazing. So
Yes, I really love the cover art. And like, just for kind of a synopsis for people maybe that haven't read it, which like, why are you listening to this
That's a good
episode
point.
if you haven't read it? But like, okay, pause, go read it, come back. Is basically this gal, she's at college, and I don't remember, is it like the 60s, it's definitely like that sort of era.
It is.
It kind of seems like being otherness is very frowned upon. This gal ends up at a college that she's pursuing like poetry and what's the word? Some sort of religious something that she's wanting to get into.
Is it a Catholic like school, like a Catholic community school or something like that?
I want to say that I read Episcopalian in the first few chapters.
Nope, you're right.
The only reason why I know that is because I baptized Episcopalian. Not that I'm religious affiliated in any way, but that I do. Yeah, there's the only reason why it stands out to me. But
Yeah, you're
I
right.
want to say that she's like getting into priesthood, but she is at a religious college, yeah, she's pursuing her. So far, she's pursuing her degree, and she happens upon some people and is happening upon some other things that are happening, and that's about as much as I can say without spoiling it. So
go read it. At that point, go read the book.
Go read it. It's really good.
It is really good. Yeah. So you ready to jump into the spoilers?
Yes.
Yeah. I just Carmilla
God.
and the teacher whose name I can't remember right off the top of my head.
LaFontaine?
LaFontaine.
De La Fontaine, yeah.
What a name, first
a
of all. Like
name.
just a prestigious professor name for sure.
Yeah.
What I would not give to be in her class, even though I'm not a poetry person.
Yes.
Like, this book made me want to be a poetry person.
Yeah. Same.
That's so good.
Same. Yeah. I honestly, like, okay, and also, like, the whirlwind of emotions that you go through, like, hating and loving characters within the first 15 chapters. Yep. Holy shit. Like, because at first I was like, man, like, screw this freaking Carmilla bitch. Like, she is rude. And then,
that's so true.
And then I was like, oh, wait, maybe we kind of like Carmilla. She's kind of cute, though. And also the steaminess of this whole book. Like, there's a very, like, I love how this book, like, even though it's clearly a romance book, it's clearly sapphic, there's this very, like, romantic, like, steamy undertone to it. Like, it feels like I'm back in the 1950s, 60s, whatever this book takes place, and I'm one of the girls that, like, you're, like, not supposed to be, like, reading this book. That's, like, the vibe it gives, and I love it.
No, it's so, like, the tension is there.
Yes.
It's, like, enemies to lovers at its finest, honestly, because, you really, like, you hate Carmilla, and then you kind of, you know, as this first 15 chapters goes through, you really kind of learn to appreciate her a little bit. And at least I was really kind of confused about the interaction between Carmilla and De La Fonte, because I really thought that they had a romantic relationship kind of going through.
Same.
And then you learn that's like, no, it's not romantic in a sexual sense, but it's almost more intense because of De La Fontaine being a vampire and needing to use Carmilla for sustenance. And it's grooming at its finest. Like, it's weird to say it that way, but grooming's not good. But it is like it's grooming, and Carmilla is like dying to be next to her and give her what she needs. It's just crazy. I at first, I mean, throughout kind of the whole first 15 chapters, I kind of had
not sneaking suspicions about De La Fontaine, but almost like this bitch seems like she's too good to be true sort of like vibes. Okay, you know what this book reminds me of very much is the and I'm only gonna speak to the movie because I've never actually read the book, but Interview with a Vampire. How oh my god, what is his name? Shit, what is his name? The main vampire dude. Louis? Louis.
Yeah.
How Louis is like obsessive over his like capture. Only wants I forget the main character's name. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's been a while since I read him.
What is his name? It's gonna drive me nuts. But anyways, like the way that De La Fontaine like uses Carmilla as like a I want you and I know you want me, but you can't have anyone else. It's very possessive. It's very like mindfucky too with the way that she plays with Laura, the main character, and Carmilla. Like once I was into like the teens chapters, I was like, this bitch is so rude. Like, how dare she?
Yeah.
Like,
no, she is.
Cause and like Laura throughout the whole first part of this book seems very she's almost like got this like very naive kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Not necessarily like pristine, but innocent, but not kind of innocent, but I don't want to use that word. But she has this very like sheltered, maybe is the right word that I'm looking for.
Right.
Kind of outlook on life, or like growing up she was sheltered, and like so she's not really like playing the game, and like she's kind of still a little bit naive to De La Fontaine's like ministrations of like playing her and playing Carmilla.
Yeah.
And kind of not seeing like De La Fontaine for what she is. It almost reminds me of like don't ever meet your like someone that you really look up to, because they might disappoint you. Like that.
Yep.
That very much in this book.
Yep.
So
yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah, Laura definitely it comes into it with a lot of innocence, because I think she's from Mississippi originally, and is, you know, she's kind of portrayed as a very good girl who's, you know, been in church her whole life and, you know, hasn't really explored her sexuality at all. And she's, you know, she was not, you know, publicly out at the time of coming to the college. And she kind of grows into her own that way. And the back and forth between Carmilla is very interesting, because you really do you just hate the crap out of Carmilla, and you really just want her to go away. And then you're kind of forced into her POV with the dual narration. Yeah. And I think that really kind of helps shift into realizing just why she is the way she is. And, you know, getting her backstory a little bit too, you kind of see where she's at. And just really like the characters are very complex and very well thought of.
Yes, I agree. For sure.
Yeah. And the summation of this first part, which we didn't plan out, but that worked out perfectly, is the very last chapter when that we finally realize what De La Fontaine's up to, which is trying to bring back her, you know, basically person that groomed her, and bring her back to life. And that's why she's been at the college for 5 years or whatever it was. And they end up making it successful, but it causes Carmilla to get injured in the process, to where she has to become a vampire to survive. And I am very excited to see how it plays out. I mean, I've read the book, so I know how it plays out, but very excited to talk about how it plays out, because that is such a, it's a good cliffhanger to end on. So kudos to the listeners who stopped at chapter 15 or 16, I guess, to wait for us. But really great first half of the book. Yeah,
it was really good. And the leading up to also with them like going into the crypt, because like throughout the whole story, like you're really not sure what the frick like De La Fontaine's actually up to, because they kind of hinted it with like Carmilla like going into the library and like stealing. At first when I read that, I was like, what does this have to do with anything? Like, what is this? I thought she was like having like a Nancy Drew moment, but then when they like, you know, that's how this book reads. It reads as like those old school books, like that kind of vibe. That's so funny. It just that like clicked in my head, where like that's what it reads as, is like a boxcar, like kind of like a mystery almost.
It kind of is. Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that either, but yeah. It is. Yeah.
But yeah, so you really like don't know what the hell her problem is, and like obviously, at least to me, it was fairly obvious like why she was recruiting Laura. I was like, okay. Like clearly I was like, she's either gonna be like turn her into a vampire, or like she's gonna like let her in on the secret in some way, like something's gonna happen, you know. But I wasn't expecting her to be like, haha, surprise, like it's my, you know, former sire that left me, the same way that I'm treating freaking Carmilla, so like but yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, it is. I don't remember exactly where I heard about this book, but it definitely was intriguing, and it definitely was more interesting than I thought it was going to be. And just like I said about the vibe, like I just feel like the vibe is unmatched within this book. I would love to go write some poetry and have De La Fontaine tell me I'm good or bad, and drink tea or some crazy ass alcoholic drink at her house, and like read poetry to each other. Like
the fact that they're just tossing back absinthe like blew my mind.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, are you kidding me? Like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way I would love to go sit in like her office or like her apartment, whatever the hell that they were sitting in, it just sounded so cozy. But yeah, God, it's such a good
it's a good book, and we picked a good time to read it too, because this is like back to school time, and so like we're into the academic space, and it's just it fit really well. And I'm really excited to talk about the book next week, because the second half, you know, it just carries on, and I feel like the second half of the book is just as good as the first. So it's been quite the experience for sure.
Yeah, I'm really excited to read the rest. I got through chapter 18 and then I stopped. So I don't have much left, but I'll probably devour that in the next few days.
Oh yeah. And I believe St. Gibson has another book that came out. This one came out in February of this year, and I believe another one either just came out or is coming out very soon. So I'm definitely going to put that on my radar, because if her books are all like this, then the vibe is, you know, that's an author I'm definitely going to be reading for sure more of. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, she's going to be on my list.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's good. It's good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Any last thoughts about this book before we wrap it up for this week?
Yeah, just I'm interested to see if there's any other like side characters that kind of come into play, because so far we've only really been in the realm of like Laura and Carmilla and then De La Fontaine. So I'd be interested to see if any of the other like Laura's friends come into play somehow, or you know, like that sort of thing.
That's true.
Because
we really we like meet her roommate or like the friend that kind of brought her in the first couple chapters, but then she kind of disappears for a while. So that's true.
Yeah, and there are very, very little other like side characters, like for the most part, going on throughout the story. So
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah. Great. Well, if our listeners, if the Hive Mind is reading this book with us and wants to share their thoughts, please do so. We have a lot of different ways you can do it. You can reach us via email at booksandbeespod@gmail.com. You can also chat with us on Instagram, which is at booksandthebeespod. You can go to our Goodreads page, which is just the Books and Bees podcast. We have a community, so if you look under the community tab, you can type us and we'll be there. And you can also see our personal Goodread pages there as well. And so, yeah, we'd love to communicate with you and see what you're reading, or, what you're reading and what you think about this book, because it's a fantastic book. And it's kind of surprising that I'm not seeing it talked about more often.
Yes.
I have not really seen a lot about this book, and I feel like it's not getting the representation it deserves. So glad we're doing it, so we can help bump that rep up just a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if you like us, you can give us a review on your podcast listening app, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any other podcasts. We greatly appreciate it. It helps us get more listeners and do more things, because we're always trying to grow as a podcast community. So feel free to give us a 5-star review and thank us for our hard work, because we love it.
Yeah, and share us with your friends or family or whatever.
Yeah, download us on a CD
and
write our name on the cover of the blank CD. That'd be really cool.
Exactly, and then share that with your friends.
And then share that, yeah. They'll be like, how am I going to listen to this? It's a CD. I don't have any CD players in my house.
Go buy a CD player.
Yeah, exactly.
Go to Radio Shack. Acquire a Radio Shack. Go to Radio Shack. Buy a CD player. A Walkman specifically.
A Walkman, yes. Oh my gosh, yeah. That takes me back.
And listen to us. And then give us a review on Spotify.
Yeah, like, don't give us a review on the CD. We won't get it.
No.
But do it on Spotify. Yeah.
Write us a letter, please.
Yeah. Yeah, and then maybe stick with Spotify in the future, or, whatever podcast app, because we don't reliably print CDs.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we appreciate it. And speaking of music, if you really want to put more on your CD that you're about to make, you can check out the American Indie, especially the song Rendezvous, which is the intro and outro to our podcast. They have a lot of great songs. We obviously love Rendezvous, but they have a lot of great music, and you can check them out on Spotify. As always, their link is in our show notes as well. So give them a check out. They're good. Well, we hope you enjoyed this literary journey as much as we did. If you're buzzing with excitement, don't forget to subscribe, email us, and leave a high 5-worthy review on your podcast listening app. Until next time, happy reading, and may your shelves be filled with tales as enchanting as a blooming garden. Keep the buzz alive, and we'll catch you in the next chapter. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.